This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today by Dave Hughes, the Sales Manager, Marine Products, Scania USA, for an overview of the Scania Marine Power portfolio. Dave, to start us off, you're a new name to the Scania USA team. Can you discuss your professional background with insights on your current responsibilities?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, Greg. Appreciate the opportunity to sit down and kind of talk shop. So I had started in the mechanical industry back in 1995 when I graduated from Universal Technical Institute in Arizona. I graduated from there with an automotive and diesel technology degree. Followed up, with a short stint actually in the mechanic industry, working on ground support equipment for the airlines. That was kind of right before the first major Gulf War. From there, I had kind of gone into a supervisory position where I was managing service repair facilities. And that kind of really brought the focus for me to the customer support, and that's where that comes from. About 10 years ago or so, I was given the opportunity to join a diesel engine distributor in the upper Midwest, where I was responsible for the replacement engine department, as well as the upper Great Lakes. The Great Lakes and the upper rivers from a marine representative standpoint. Due to consolidation of business operations, I decided to pursue other ventures, and I had a short stint as an off-highway regional sales manager in the Pacific Northwest for another diesel engine manufacturer. And then Scania USA came to the table, and there was an opportunity for me to get back into the marine industry. And due to the passion that I have, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. As the marine sales manager for Scania USA, I work closely with our distribution network to develop the Scania marine market applications while ensuring our customers receive the support that they need to maximize the uptime. This includes further developing our service network and working with vessel operators and boat builders to ensure they understand the benefits associated with the Scania brand.
Now, again, anyone watching this knows the Scania name for sure, but can you give us a quick overview of the Scania marine portfolio today?
Yeah, absolutely. The Scania marine portfolio kind of fills a nice little niche. And when people look at our competitors, they may have horsepowers from 50 or 60 horsepower all the way up to a couple thousand horsepower. But Scania, with their core market being in on-highway trucks and buses in Europe, they've developed a very robust and competitive and dependable solution, kind of around that market. We offer two major or current platforms, the DI-13, which is an inline six-cylinder, and the DI-16, which is a V8 model. The DI-13 is available in 250 to 900 horsepower on a propulsion engine, as well as generator or auxiliary engines from 269 kW up to 426 kW. The DI-16, that one in the V8 configuration, again, is offered from 550 horsepower up to 1150 horsepower with auxiliary applications in the 470 kW range.
As I just said, obviously Scania is a familiar name to our viewers, but can you give us a by the numbers look at Scania and Scania USA using the metrics of your choice?
Sure. Scania as a whole, we've been selling industrial and marine engines in the United States aggressively for approximately 10 years or so. And in that time, we've been able to place approximately 8,000 engines within the US market, of which probably 10% are in the marine engines. Now, one thing to consider is this doesn't include all the legacy Scania products from days of old when Scania was selling trucks, via their partnership with Mack. On a global scale, annual industrial and marine engine sales, engines alone are 10 to 12,000 units annually. The one thing I would note is I think it's important to understand that Scania's core market, as I mentioned previously, is on highway trucks and coaches in Europe. They're kind of the Mack or Peterbilt, if you will, to the United States. If you start looking at adding in the engines that are produced in-house, completely in-house, into that mix, Scania produces over 100,000 engines annually.
Can you give us a rundown of the primary markets that you serve with insights on the ones that you find particularly promising today?
Certainly, Greg. And, despite the challenging times that we're in, as you had mentioned, and coming out of with COVID, the passenger vessel market, many of the traditional markets we've been successful in have continued to grow and be successful. For example, the Bristol-based salmon fisheries and the Northeast lobster and shellfish industries have been very good, with many record catches recorded recently. These are two industries that Scania has been very successful in due to their power and weight ratio and historical uptime. Another industry that is experiencing rapid growth is the offshore wind market. There have been multiple offshore wind projects that are ramping up, like Martha's Vineyard, the New York Bright lease that just recently occurred, and there's others being discussed in different regions of the U.S., including the Gulf of Mexico, the coast of California, and the Southeast coast, including offshore from Virginia and North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. As it stands today, the U.S. does not have the vessels to support the rapidly growing industry, in part because of the Jones Act, but because the industry hasn't been there. Scania has a proven track record in quad engine CTVs currently being operated in Europe, and it's a great position to support the market. Going back to the passenger vessel, as the market rebounds from the pandemic and the passenger counts increase, operators are looking to meet the demand of the passenger influx, while modernizing their fleet. This includes the growing shift to alternative fuels, hybrid applications, something that align closely with one of Scania's core values to drive the shift towards a sustainable transport system, creating a world of mobility that is better for business, society, and the environment.
Obviously, my primary interest and focus is the commercial market, but we do have some tendrils into the recreation market as well. And I understand that Scania too has been making inroads into the recreation business. Can you discuss the market as you see it today, with insights on any interesting recent projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. It is kind of an exciting time for Scania in the recreational world. Within the last 2 years, Scania has released their US EPA Tier 3 compliant recreational engines. These engines are available in the 700 to 1150 horsepower range and compete very favorable in both the fishing and leisure applications. Being one of the most fuel efficient engines on the market, we can provide customers not only the proven reliability of the Scania brand, but also allowing anglers to stay on fish longer, cruising yachts longer range while taking some of the burden out of their bank accounts. With the release of the US compliant rec engines, Maritimo Yachts has seen great success in selling US bound boats utilizing US versions of the engines that they've been very successful, throughout other parts of the world. Another pure pleasure application that we're seeing success in is, the Nordhaven vessels. They have an N68. It's an expedition yacht, and expedition customers demand reliability and are a very close-knit group of owners. If one finds a reliable drivetrain solution, that information is shared amongst current and potential customers. With the recent deliveries of multiple boats, this in and of itself provides testament to the Scania engine. Last but not least, one of the most exciting recent applications is the Mac 900. This is a Viking 46-foot billfish or a sport fishing vessel. Our Northeast distributor, Mac Boring and Parts, had to invest significant resources to secure this opportunity. Since the launch of the boat, it's been traveling up and down the East Coast, competing in sport fishing tournaments and participating, in the Viking displays at many of the winter boat shows. The attention is rather astonishing. Most of the attention is due to the exceptional performance and fuel efficiency. This is a 46-foot, 40,000-pound plus sport fishing boat that tops out over 40 knots, cruises at 34 to 36 knots, all while burning less than 60 gallons per hour combined.
Dave, I know from some previous discussions that the Scania DI16 is a particularly interesting unit for you today. What is it about the DI16 that makes it interesting for pairing with water jets in CTV applications?
Fantastic question, Greg. To specifically address that question, the Scania engine's torque tends to plateau earlier in the power curve than a lot of our competitors. This allows the engines to operate at slightly lower RPM while still maintaining the power required to fully utilize the water jets. This results in less cavitation within the jets, more reliable product and less breakdowns within the jets, while simultaneously equating to increased fuel economy for the operators. I think it's also important to understand the benefits of the Scania quad engine solution. Many of the CTVs in our horsepower range have traditionally utilized 12 to 1600 horsepower, via a twin engine application. With the current emission requirements, this would require costly and complex exhaust after treatments. By utilizing quad engines, we eliminate the need for those after treatments, have more available horsepower should a failure occur, because you're only losing one engine instead of, or 25% of your propulsion versus 50%. Plus, we provide a greater variance in operation configurations. For example, should the need be there, you could utilize one engine, two engines, three, or all four based on the load and their operating requirements. Another major benefit, given CTVs are commonly catamaran style hulls, the quad engine solution takes up less real estate in the engine room, not only because of the footprints are obviously smaller, but you don't have that complex and bulky after treatment to worry about finding a home for.
Obviously, you have a very long tenure and history in the engine business. And as you know, manufacturing engines is one bit, Selling them and ensuring that they are properly cared for while in operation is a whole nother piece of business. Can you discuss the depth and the breadth of the Scania USA Distributor Network today?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, having, the service background that I do, customer support and uptime is a major concern for me as the regional sales or the North American sales manager rather. Scania has a multi-distributor model for the US operations. We have a couple of layers, one being the service, obviously Scania USA, then the distributors, and then the service dealers themselves. In both industrial and marine markets, we have distributors who work directly with our service dealers, numbering over 300 service dealers, of which 60 are dedicated marine. Our 4 marine distributors for the US and Canada includes name that people are familiar with within the industry. You have ADF Diesel in our Eastern Canadian market, for example, Cascade Engine Center covering the West Coast, from California to Alaska, Mac Boring and Parts handling the Great Lakes and the Atlantic coast, and Laborde Products covering the Gulf Coast and lower rivers. These distributors have been identified specifically for their expertise in the markets and the regions. The distribution model allows our distributors to have a close working relationship with our service dealer, which in turn equates to a better understanding of the local service needs. As the marine business has been growing over the recent years, we have been strategically adding service dealers to fill gaps in service coverage and help ensure customer uptime, should a failure occur. The distributors have been identified based on their experience within the market, and most recently, we've added over 10 service dealers in Florida market alone in an effort to support, the recently relaunched recreational engines and the US bound Nordhavens and Maritimos and Vikings.
Okay. Well, Dave, again, I truly appreciate your time. I look forward to working with you and meeting you in person in the future.
Greg, greatly appreciate the opportunity again to talk shop.